Ladies and gentlemen, today we journey back in time to explore one of the most magnificent cities of the ancient world, Persepolis. Known as the Burnt City, Persepolis was once the heart of the Persian Empire, a symbol of power, culture, and architectural brilliance. However, its glory was short-lived, as it met a tragic end in flames. Let us uncover the history, significance, and the ultimate destruction of this legendary city. Persepolis, the grand ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, was established by King Darius I around 518 BCE. Darius, one of the most influential rulers of ancient Persia, envisioned Persepolis as more than just a city. It was to be a symbol of Persian supremacy, a testament to the empire's wealth, and a place where the vast and diverse regions of its domain could be united under one banner. Unlike other major cities of the empire, such as Susa or Ecbatana, which served as political or administrative centers, Persepolis was built primarily for ceremonial purposes, especially for hosting grand events, diplomatic gatherings, and royal celebrations. Strategically positioned in the heart of Persia, in present-day Iran's Fars province, Persepolis was designed to reflect the glory of the Achaemenid rulers. The choice of its location was intentional. It was nestled against the Kui-Rahmith, Mountain of Mercy, offering both natural protection and an imposing backdrop that further emphasized its grandeur. The city's construction was a massive undertaking, spanning decades and involving skilled laborers and artisans from all over the empire, including Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, and Indian craftsmen. Persepolis was not only a city of beauty, but also one of deep symbolism. It stood as a representation of the empire's ideology, a place where the might of Persia was demonstrated through its monumental architecture, artistic brilliance, and intricate inscriptions that spoke of the divine right of the Achaemenid kings. Inscriptions carved in cuneiform across the city's palaces and gateways reinforced the notion that the Persian king ruled by the will of Ahura Mazda, the supreme god of Zoroastrianism. Though Persepolis was not the empire's primary seat of government, it held immense cultural and ideological significance. It was here that the Persian kings held their most elaborate ceremonies, including the famous Nowruz festival, which marked the Persian New Year and brought together governors, envoys, and dignitaries from across the empire. These events were carefully orchestrated to reinforce the power and unity of the Achaemenid rule, as representatives from different nations paid tribute and offered gifts to the king, signifying their allegiance. Persepolis, in its prime, was not just a city. It was a monumental stage where the vastness and diversity of the Persian Empire were put on full display. It was a place that embodied the essence of Persian civilization, an empire that stretched from the Indus Valley in the east to the Mediterranean in the west. However, despite its magnificence and the vision of its founder, its fate was sealed when it fell into the hands of Alexander the Great, who reduced it to ashes. Would you like me to expand on any other points as well? Persepolis was not just a city. It was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, a physical embodiment of the power, culture, and architectural brilliance of the Achaemenid Persian Empire. Every structure, every carving, and every stone placed within its boundaries told a story of ambition, wealth, and imperial grandeur. Unlike the administrative capitals of Persia, which were functional hubs of governance, Persepolis served a higher purpose. It was built to inspire awe, command respect, and project an image of Persia's might to the world. At the heart of Persepolis stood a complex of monumental buildings, each constructed with meticulous craftsmanship. The Apadana Palace, one of the most iconic structures in the city, was a grand audience hall where the Persian kings received envoys, noblemen, and representatives from the vast territories under their rule. With its 72 massive columns, each rising over 20 meters high, the Apadana was designed to reflect the empire's stability and authority. The detailed bas-reliefs adorning the staircases of this palace depicted delegations from different regions of the empire, each bringing gifts to the Persian king, a visual representation of Persia's vastness and diversity. Another significant structure within Persepolis was the Hall of 100 Columns, which was even larger than the Apadana. This immense hall, believed to have been used for military ceremonies and royal receptions, showcased the strength of Persian engineering. The columns, each meticulously crafted, supported an enormous roof that created a vast open space, emphasizing the grandeur and dominance of the Persian monarch. The craftsmanship involved in constructing such buildings was unparalleled, with workers and artisans from all over the empire contributing their skills, from Mesopotamian stoneworkers to Egyptian goldsmiths. The architectural style of Persepolis was a fusion of different cultural influences, reflecting the empire's vast and multicultural nature. Persian, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek elements blended seamlessly, resulting in a unique artistic identity that was both grand and sophisticated. Unlike the rigid and massive stone constructions of Mesopotamian civilizations, Persian architecture incorporated more elegant and refined elements such as finely carved reliefs, double-headed bull capitals, and intricate detailing in both stone and metalwork. Beyond its architectural achievements, Persepolis was a hub of Persian culture. It was here that the ideals of the Achaemenid rulers were most vividly expressed. The carvings and inscriptions found throughout the city emphasized the principles of justice, unity, and religious tolerance that the Persian kings promoted. The Achaemenid rulers prided themselves on their ability to govern a diverse empire where different ethnic groups and cultures coexisted under Persian rule. Unlike many ancient empires that sought to impose a singular identity on their subjects, the Persians embraced the diversity of their empire, and this inclusivity was reflected in the design and art of Persepolis. Moreover, the city played a crucial role in Persian ceremonial traditions. The Nowruz festival, which marked the beginning of the Persian New Year, was one of the most significant events held at Persepolis. This grand celebration was attended by satraps, governors, officials, and envoys from across the empire, who brought offerings and reaffirmed their loyalty to the Persian king. The ceremonies, filled with processions, feasts, and cultural performances, solidified Persepolis as the spiritual and cultural heart of the empire. Persepolis was also an economic symbol, showcasing the immense wealth and prosperity of the Persian Empire. The treasures and resources stored within its palaces and treasury halls were a testament to Persia's dominance over trade routes stretching from the Mediterranean to India. Gold, silver, fine textiles, and other precious goods were accumulated in Persepolis, demonstrating the empire's economic power. This immense wealth, however, would later make the city a prime target for invasion. Through its grandeur, Persepolis stood as a testament to the Achaemenid Empire's strength, artistic achievements, and cultural legacy. It was a city built not just for function but for meaning, a place where the empire's greatness was immortalized in stone, and where future generations could witness the achievements of Persian civilization. Persepolis was not just a city of palaces and grand architecture. It was the ceremonial heart of the Achaemenid Empire, where some of the most significant rituals and celebrations took place. Among these, the most important was Nowruz, the Persian New Year festival, a grand event that symbolized renewal, unity, and the reaffirmation of loyalty to the Persian king. This festival was not just a cultural tradition, it was a political and diplomatic spectacle that reinforced the legitimacy and dominance of the Achaemenid dynasty. Nowruz, meaning New Day, was celebrated at the spring equinox, marking the beginning of the new year according to the Persian solar calendar. It was a time of joy, renewal, and gratitude, deeply rooted in Persian and Zoroastrian traditions. The festival's significance went beyond simple festivities. It was a carefully orchestrated event that brought together the vast and diverse regions of the empire under one unifying celebration. During Nowruz, Persepolis transformed into the most important gathering place for nobles, governors, military leaders, and foreign envoys. Delegations from across the empire, including Egypt, Babylon, India, Lydia, and Central Asia, traveled great distances to present themselves before the Persian king. These representatives brought lavish gifts such as gold, silver, textiles, exotic animals, and rare goods as tokens of loyalty and tribute. The ceremonial processions, vividly depicted in the bas-reliefs of Persepolis, showcased the empire's immense reach and multicultural diversity. The heart of the Nowruz celebration took place in the Apadana Palace, the grand audience hall of Persepolis, where the king received these envoys and dignitaries. This hall, with its towering columns and magnificent staircases adorned with carvings of tribute bearers, was the perfect setting for the event. As each delegation arrived, they would bow before the king, offer their gifts, and reaffirm their allegiance. This display of submission was not just symbolic, it was a demonstration of the king's supreme authority and the empire's unity. Nowruz was also a deeply religious event, rooted in Zoroastrian beliefs. The festival emphasized the triumph of light over darkness, good over evil, and the renewal of life. As part of the ceremonies, priests performed sacred rituals, offering prayers to Ahura Mazda, the supreme god of Zoroastrianism. Fire altars were lit, signifying purity and divine protection, while offerings of food and drink were made to ensure prosperity for the coming year. These rituals reinforced the connection between the Persian monarchy and divine favor, legitimizing the rule of the Achaemenid kings as chosen by the gods. The celebrations extended beyond the palace walls. The people of Persepolis and surrounding regions participated in feasts, music, and dance. Elaborate banquets were held, where food and drink flowed freely, and people gathered to honor the new year with joy and gratitude. It was a time of generosity, where the king would often distribute gifts to his subjects, symbolizing his role as a benevolent and just ruler. However, Nowruz at Persepolis was more than just a celebration, it was a crucial political tool. The annual gathering of satraps, provincial governors, and foreign envoys served as a reminder of the empire's vast power. It was an opportunity for the Persian king to assert his authority, resolve disputes, and strengthen diplomatic ties. The grand ceremonies reinforced the idea that the empire was a harmonious and unified entity, despite its vastness and diversity. The festival also played a strategic role in ensuring loyalty among the empire's officials and subject states. By bringing together the leaders of various regions, the king demonstrated his ability to command respect and obedience from all corners of his empire. In a way, Nowruz acted as a renewal of the empire itself, where all its components came together to acknowledge the supremacy of the Persian monarch. The grandeur of Nowruz at Persepolis was unparalleled, making the city a true symbol of imperial power and unity. It was a tradition that continued for centuries, even after the fall of the Achaemenid Empire, and remains an integral part of Persian culture today. The ruins of Persepolis still hold the echoes of these grand ceremonies, where once the greatest empire of its time gathered to celebrate a new year and the enduring strength of Persian civilization. Persepolis was not just an ordinary city, it was a masterpiece of ancient Persian architecture and artistic expression. Every structure, from its towering palaces to its meticulously carved stone reliefs, was designed to reflect the grandeur, power, and sophistication of the Achaemenid Empire. The city's beauty was not only in its scale but also in its extraordinary attention to detail, with every element serving a symbolic and aesthetic purpose. The heart of Persepolis was its royal palaces, the most prominent being the Apadana Palace, commissioned by Darius I. This enormous audience hall was supported by 72 massive columns, each rising nearly 20 meters, 65 feet, high. These columns, topped with double-headed bull capitals, were not just structural but also symbolic, representing strength and divine protection. The Apadana was designed as the primary reception area where the Persian king would meet foreign envoys, satraps, and high-ranking officials. The grandeur of this hall was meant to leave visitors in awe, emphasizing the vast power of the Achaemenid rulers. Another key structure was the Takra Palace, also known as the Winter Palace, built by Darius I. Unlike the larger Apadana, the Takra was more private and was believed to be the royal residence. The polished black stone floors of this palace were a testament to the wealth and craftsmanship of the Persians. The Takra is one of the best-preserved structures of Persepolis, with much of its original relief work still visible today. The Hall of 100 Columns, built by Xerxes I, was one of the largest and most impressive buildings in Persepolis. Spanning 70 meters by 70 meters, it was an enormous space believed to have been used for military ceremonies and official state functions. Each of its 100 massive columns supported a roof that created a vast, open interior. This hall was decorated with reliefs depicting warriors, royal guards, and scenes of kingship, all carved with remarkable precision. One of the most breathtaking aspects of Persepolis was its intricate stone reliefs, which adorned staircases, doorways, and walls throughout the city. These reliefs were not mere decorations, they told the story of the Persian Empire. The most famous carvings can be found on the staircases of the Apadana, depicting delegations from across the empire bringing gifts to the Persian king. These carvings showcase people from various regions, Lydians, Babylonians, Indians, Egyptians, and Medes, each dressed in their traditional attire, carrying goods unique to their homeland. This artistic representation was a powerful statement of the empire's vastness and the respect its subjects had for Persian rule. Another remarkable set of reliefs is found at the Gate of All Nations, a grand entrance constructed by Xerxes I. This gateway was flanked by colossal winged bull statues with human heads, a motif borrowed from earlier Mesopotamian civilizations, but adapted into Persian art. The Gate of All Nations symbolized the inclusivity of the Persian Empire, welcoming people from all parts of the world who came to Persepolis for diplomatic and ceremonial purposes. Persian artists also excelled in metalwork, ceramics, and textiles. Though little of these have survived from Persepolis due to its destruction, historical records suggest that the city was filled with golden and silver vessels, intricately woven carpets, and fine jewelry that reflected the empire's opulence. The use of precious metals and stones in decoration was a key feature of Achaemenid craftsmanship, and Persepolis was the pinnacle of this artistic tradition. Beyond its aesthetic brilliance, Persepolis was a fusion of artistic influences from across the empire. The Achaemenids were known for adopting and integrating the artistic styles of the civilizations they conquered, including Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Greek, and Central Asian elements. This cultural blending is evident in the architectural designs and sculptural techniques used in Persepolis, creating a unique artistic identity that distinguished Persian art from its contemporaries. Persepolis was not just a royal complex, it was a living canvas that reflected the empire's ideology, diversity, and sophistication. Every palace, relief, and artistic element served a purpose, narrating the story of an empire that prided itself on unity, power, and refinement. Today, despite its ruins, the remnants of Persepolis still whisper the tales of its former glory, preserving the legacy of one of history's greatest civilizations. Persepolis was more than just a ceremonial capital. It was a powerful symbol of the unity and diversity of the vast Achaemenid Persian Empire. At its height, the empire was the largest the world had ever seen, stretching from the Indus Valley in the east to the Mediterranean and Egypt in the west, encompassing over 5 million square kilometers. This vast domain included a wide range of cultures, languages, and religions, yet all were brought together under Persian rule. Persepolis stood as a testament to this unity, demonstrating how an empire of such immense size could be governed with efficiency, respect, and inclusivity. One of the most striking aspects of Persepolis was how it visually represented the multicultural nature of the Persian Empire. The city was not just built by Persians, it was constructed by workers, artisans, and craftsmen from all corners of the empire. Historical records and archaeological findings suggest that builders from Egypt, Babylon, Ionia, Greek city-states, India, and Central Asia contributed their expertise to its construction. This blending of artistic and architectural styles made Persepolis a unique city, incorporating elements from many different cultures while maintaining a distinctly Persian identity. The Apadana Palace, one of the most significant structures in Persepolis, vividly illustrated the empire's vast diversity. Its staircases are adorned with detailed bas-reliefs depicting delegations from various satrapies, provinces, bringing gifts to the Persian king. Each delegation is shown in their traditional attire, carrying goods specific to their homeland. For example, the Babylonians are depicted bringing fine textiles and ceramics. The Lydians from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, present silver and gold. The Ethiopians from Africa offer exotic animals such as elephants. The Indians bring spices and valuable resources like ivory. The Scythians, a nomadic people from Central Asia, offer horses. These carvings were not just decorative, they served a deeper purpose. They conveyed the message that, despite their cultural differences, all these nations recognized and respected the authority of the Persian king. Instead of ruling through force alone, the Achaemenid dynasty fostered loyalty by allowing subject peoples to retain their local customs, traditions, and languages, so long as they paid tribute and acknowledged Persian supremacy. This policy of cultural tolerance and administrative efficiency allowed the empire to thrive for over 2 centuries. The Gate of All Nations, built by Xerxes I, was another powerful symbol of imperial unity. This grand entrance to Persepolis was designed to welcome people from every part of the empire. At its entrance stood massive winged bulls with human heads, a blend of Mesopotamian and Persian artistic influences. Inscribed above the gateway was a declaration by Xerxes stating that the city was open to all nations under Persian rule, reinforcing the idea that Persepolis belonged to the entire empire, not just the Persians. Persepolis also served as a diplomatic and administrative center where representatives from different provinces would gather to discuss governance, settle disputes, and strengthen ties between regions. The Persian Empire was divided into satrapies, each governed by a satrap, provincial governor, who had considerable autonomy but remained loyal to the central authority of the great king. These satraps would travel to Persepolis for important meetings, where they reported on the state of their regions and reaffirmed their allegiance. Beyond political unity, Persepolis also embodied religious inclusivity, a key factor in maintaining harmony across such a vast empire. The Achaemenid rulers, particularly Cyrus the Great and Darius I, were known for their religious tolerance. They respected the gods and customs of their subject peoples, allowing them to worship freely. This policy is famously demonstrated in the Cyrus Cylinder, which records how Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple after the Babylonian captivity. While Persepolis itself was primarily associated with Zoroastrianism, the dominant Persian religion, it was a city where many faiths coexisted. Another way Persepolis symbolized imperial unity was through the celebration of Nowruz, the Persian New Year festival. During this event, envoys and dignitaries from across the empire gathered in Persepolis to present gifts and reaffirm their loyalty. This grand occasion was not just about celebration. It was a carefully orchestrated political ritual that reinforced the idea that the Persian king was the central figure holding the empire together. Even the construction of Persepolis itself was a representation of imperial cooperation. Workers from different regions, using materials sourced from various parts of the empire, built the city together. The stone used in the palaces came from Iran, the cedar wood for the roofs was imported from Lebanon, and the gold and silver for decorations arrived from Asia Minor and Central Asia. Every material and every hand that worked on Persepolis contributed to a city that stood as a symbol of imperial unity. Through its architecture, art, ceremonies, and policies, Persepolis represented a world where diverse peoples could coexist under a single empire. It was a city that showcased how strength and tolerance could go hand in hand, creating an empire that lasted for centuries. Even after its destruction, Persepolis remains a reminder of the Persian Empire's ability to unify vast and culturally rich lands under one rule. The magnificent city of Persepolis did not emerge overnight. It was the result of decades of vision, planning, and construction by some of the greatest rulers of the Achaemenid Empire. Its foundations were laid by Darius I, Darius the Great, in 518 BCE, and it was expanded and enhanced by his successors, most notably Xerxes I and Artaxerxes I. Each king contributed to its growth, transforming Persepolis into one of the most awe-inspiring cities of the ancient world. Darius I, the visionary founder of Persepolis. Darius I, one of the most influential rulers of the Achaemenid dynasty, envisioned Persepolis as more than just a city. He wanted it to be a symbol of Persian power, unity, and culture. Before Persepolis, The empire's administrative centers were in Susa, Ecbatana, and Babylon, but Darius sought to create a new ceremonial capital that would stand apart from these cities. He selected a strategic location in the southwestern region of present-day Iran at the foothills of the Kui-Ramith, Mountain of Mercy. Unlike Babylon or Susa, which were already established cities, Persepolis was built entirely from scratch. This allowed Darius to design the city according to his own vision, without the constraints of existing structures. He ordered the construction of a massive artificial terrace, an elevated platform covering 125,000 square meters, upon which the royal palaces and monumental structures would be built. This terrace, made of limestone and mud brick, was a marvel of engineering, carefully designed to support the city's towering buildings. Darius was responsible for the construction of some of the most important structures in Persepolis, including the Apadana Palace, a grand audience hall where Darius received foreign envoys, featuring 72 towering columns and elaborate reliefs of tribute-bearers from across the empire. The Takara Palace of Darius, a private royal residence, also known as the Winter Palace, adorned with highly polished stone floors and intricate carvings. The Treasury, a vast storage facility where the wealth of the Persian Empire, including gold, silver, and precious goods from subject nations, was kept. Darius also initiated the construction of the Gate of All Nations, which would later be completed by his son, Xerxes I. This gate was designed to symbolize the diversity of the empire, welcoming visitors from different lands. Xerxes I, the great builder and expander. After the death of Darius I in 486 BC, his son Xerxes I, Xerxes the Great, inherited the throne. Xerxes continued his father's vision and significantly expanded Persepolis. He oversaw the completion of the Gate of All Nations, which became one of the most iconic entrances to the city. This grand gateway was flanked by massive winged bull statues with human heads, inspired by Mesopotamian art, signifying both divine protection and imperial power. Xerxes also ordered the construction of the Hall of 100 Columns, a massive audience hall measuring 70 meters by 70 meters, making it one of the largest enclosed spaces in the city. It was primarily used for military ceremonies and royal receptions. The Hadish Palace of Xerxes, a royal palace built on an elevated platform, showcasing even more intricate carvings and larger staircases than his father's Takara. Xerxes played a crucial role in refining the artistic and architectural style of Persepolis. Under his reign, the city's reliefs became more detailed, and the cultural diversity of the empire was more vividly expressed in the carvings. He also ensured that Persepolis continued to serve as the empire's ceremonial heart, particularly during the Nowruz, Persian New Year celebrations, when representatives from across the empire came to pay tribute to the king. Artaxerxes I, the last great builder of Persepolis. Following the assassination of Xerxes I in 465 BCE, his son Artaxerxes I ascended to the throne. Though Artaxerxes faced political instability and revolts, he continued to expand Persepolis, adding his own contributions to the city. He built the Palace of Artaxerxes I, a smaller but well-decorated palace, following the same architectural principles established by Darius and Xerxes. Extensions to the Hall of 100 Columns, enhancing the structure with additional carvings and possibly reinforcing its columns. Under Artaxerxes I, Persepolis remained the spiritual and cultural center of the Persian Empire. However, as the empire grew, other cities like Susa and Babylon continued to function as key administrative capitals, while Persepolis remained primarily a ceremonial city. Contributions of later kings. Although Persepolis reached its peak under Darius I, Xerxes I, and Artaxerxes I, later Achaemenid kings continued to maintain and modify the city. Artaxerxes II and Artaxerxes III made repairs and minor additions, ensuring that Persepolis remained a place of imperial grandeur. However, by the time of Darius III, the last king of the Achaemenid Empire, Persepolis was already facing its greatest threat, the invasion of Alexander the Great in 330 BCE. Even though Persepolis was never fully completed, the work of Darius I, Xerxes I, and Artaxerxes I transformed it into an architectural wonder that reflected the unity, power, and sophistication of the Persian Empire. Each successive ruler built upon the foundations of their predecessors, ensuring that Persepolis stood as a timeless representation of Persian imperial glory. The fall of Persepolis is one of the most dramatic and devastating moments in ancient history. In 330 BCE, after years of relentless conquest, Alexander the Great and his army arrived at the gates of the Persian ceremonial capital. What followed was not just the capture of a city, but an event that symbolized the downfall of the mighty Achaemenid Empire. The burning of Persepolis was an act that forever altered the course of Persian history, leaving behind ruins that still stand today as a reminder of its former grandeur. The invasion of Persia. Alexander's invasion of the Persian Empire began in 334 BCE when he crossed into Asia Minor with his Macedonian and Greek forces. His campaign was driven by multiple motivations: revenge against the Persians for their past invasions of Greece, a desire to expand his empire, and his personal ambition to surpass the legendary achievements of past rulers. His war against the Achaemenid Empire, ruled at the time by Darius I, saw a series of decisive battles that weakened Persian control. In 333 BCE, at the Battle of Issus, Alexander defeated the Persian army and forced Darius III to retreat. In 331 BCE, at the Battle of Gaugamela, Alexander crushed the Persian forces, effectively sealing the fate of the empire. With Babylon and Susa under his control, he continued eastward, heading toward Persepolis, the heart of Persian ceremonial power. The capture of Persepolis. By early 330 BCE, Alexander reached Persepolis, the symbolic capital of the Achaemenid dynasty. Unlike other Persian cities such as Babylon and Susa, which surrendered without major resistance, Persepolis was a different case. The city was heavily fortified, and its defenders, loyalists of Darius III, prepared for a last stand. Despite their efforts, Alexander's forces managed to breach the defenses and take control of the city. The Macedonian army, having spent years fighting the Persians, viewed Persepolis as a place of unimaginable wealth and power. When they entered, they found vast riches, gold, silver, and other treasures stored in the Persepolis treasury, which had been accumulating wealth from across the empire for nearly 2 centuries. Unlike in Babylon, where Alexander had presented himself as a liberator and spared the city, he allowed Persepolis to be plundered and looted. His soldiers, many of whom had suffered through long campaigns, were given free rein to seize valuables and celebrate their victory. The pillaging lasted for days, during which many of the city's inhabitants were either enslaved or killed. The destruction of Persepolis. One of the most debated events in history is why Alexander ordered the burning of Persepolis. The destruction was deliberate and systematic, with massive fires set across the city, particularly in the royal palaces and administrative buildings. The flames consumed wooden structures, furniture, and textiles, while the intense heat caused even stone columns and reliefs to crack. The fire reduced much of Persepolis to ruins, a state in which it remains to this day. Historians have debated several possible reasons for this act. Revenge for the Persian invasions of Greece. Some ancient sources claim that Alexander wanted to avenge the destruction of Athens during the Persian Wars, particularly the burning of the Acropolis by Xerxes I in 480 BCE. The Greek historian Arrian suggests that the burning of Persepolis was a symbolic act of vengeance, a final statement that Persia had been defeated. Punishment for Persian resistance. Unlike Babylon and Susa, which surrendered peacefully, Persepolis was defended by Persian forces. Alexander may have burned it as a warning to other cities that resisted his rule. Drunken decision. Some accounts, particularly from Plutarch, suggest that the burning of Persepolis was a result of a drunken celebration. According to this version, during a victory banquet, Alexander and his men, intoxicated with wine and triumph, set fire to the city in a moment of reckless destruction. Strategic move. Some scholars believe that Alexander may have realized that Persepolis was not a practical capital for his new empire. Located deep within Persia, it was far from the Mediterranean, where he intended to consolidate his rule. By destroying Persepolis, he symbolically ended the old Persian regime and ensured that no future Persian ruler could use it as a base of power. The aftermath. The destruction of Persepolis marked the definitive end of the Achaemenid dynasty. Though Darius III was still alive at the time, he was a fugitive, fleeing eastward in a desperate attempt to rally support. He would later be betrayed and murdered by his own men, leaving Alexander as the undisputed ruler of Persia. Despite its destruction, Persepolis was never forgotten. Even centuries later, the ruins of its grand palaces, towering columns, and intricate carvings stood as a testament to the former power and wealth of the Achaemenid Empire. Greek and Roman writers often described its splendor, and later Persian dynasties, such as the Sassanids, regarded it as a symbol of their ancestors' greatness. Even today, the ruins of Persepolis remain one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world, attracting scholars and visitors who seek to understand its glorious past and tragic downfall. Even though Alexander the Great and his army burned Persepolis to the ground in 330 BCE, its destruction did not erase its significance. The city's ruins remained a powerful symbol of Persian heritage, showcasing the architectural, artistic, and cultural achievements of the Achaemenid Empire. Over the centuries, despite wars, invasions, and natural decay, Persepolis continued to stand as a testament to the grandeur of ancient Persia. The resilience of Persepolis's ruins. One of the most remarkable aspects of Persepolis is that, despite the devastation caused by fire and plunder, its structures and carvings have endured for over 2,000 years. The reason for this durability lies in the materials and construction techniques used by its builders. The massive stone columns, intricately carved reliefs, and foundations of the palaces were made of solid limestone, which resisted complete destruction. Even though the wooden roofs, doors, and decorations were consumed by the flames, the stone structure survived. Archaeologists have found remains of the Apadana Palace, with its towering columns still standing, the Gate of All Nations, featuring inscriptions and carvings that tell the story of Persia's vast empire, the stairways and reliefs depicting Persian kings, warriors, and tribute-bearers from different regions. Despite centuries of exposure to harsh weather and occasional earthquakes, these ruins continue to reveal the architectural ingenuity of the Achaemenid builders, a symbol of Persian identity. 4 centuries after its fall, Persepolis remained an important symbol of Persian identity. Although new cities and empires rose in Persia, the ruins of Persepolis were never forgotten. Many later Persian dynasties, including the Parthians and the Sassanids, saw themselves as the heirs of the Achaemenids. The Sassanids, in particular, admired Persepolis and its legacy, incorporating elements of Achaemenid art and governance into their own rule. Even during the Islamic period, Persian poets and historians continued to refer to Persepolis as a majestic and legendary place. Some Persian scholars believed that it was built by mythical figures such as Jamshid, a legendary king from Persian folklore. This is why Persepolis is known in Persian as Takhti Jamshid, Throne of Jamshid. The ruins became a cultural symbol of Persia's glorious past, reminding later generations of the power and sophistication of their ancestors. Rediscovery and archaeological interest. For centuries, the ruins of Persepolis remained largely untouched, hidden beneath layers of sand and time. It wasn't until Western explorers and archaeologists visited Persia in the 17th and 18th centuries that global interest in Persepolis reignited. European travelers, such as Pietro della Valle, Italian traveler, and Cornelis de Bruyne, Dutch artist and explorer, documented their visits and described the grand ruins in their writings. However, serious archaeological excavations did not begin until the 20th century, when scholars and experts conducted extensive studies to uncover the secrets of Persepolis. One of the most significant discoveries was the Persepolis fortification tablets, a collection of clay tablets that revealed valuable details about the administration, economy, and daily life of the Achaemenid Empire. These excavations helped historians piece together the purpose and function of Persepolis, proving that it was not just a palace complex, but also a center for administration and ceremonial gatherings. A UNESCO World Heritage Site and modern symbol of Persian pride. In 1979, Persepolis was officially recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, ensuring its protection as one of the most important cultural landmarks in the world. Today, it stands as a global symbol of Persian history and civilization, drawing thousands of visitors each year who come to witness its majestic ruins. For Iranians, Persepolis represents national pride and a link to their rich heritage. Even though centuries have passed since its destruction, it remains a powerful reminder of the achievements of the Achaemenid Empire. Its towering columns, intricate carvings, and grand staircases continue to tell the story of a civilization that once ruled over vast territories, influencing cultures and societies across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Even though Persepolis was burned and partially destroyed in 330 BCE, its ruins have preserved a wealth of historical information. The intricate carvings, reliefs, and inscriptions found on its stone walls, staircases, and columns serve as a window into the past, offering historians and archaeologists invaluable insights into the administration, culture, and daily life of the Achaemenid Empire. These artistic and written records provide a glimpse into the empire's vast reach, its political system, and the diverse peoples who lived under Persian rule. The reliefs of Persepolis, a pictorial history. One of the most striking features of Persepolis is its detailed relief carvings, which cover the walls and staircases of the palace complex. These reliefs were not merely decorative. They were designed to communicate the power, stability, and inclusivity of the Achaemenid Empire. Depictions of tribute bearers. The reliefs on the Apadana, audience hall, staircases are among the most famous. They depict delegations from different regions of the empire bringing gifts to the Persian king during the Nowruz, New Year, celebrations. These figures are easily identifiable by their distinct clothing, hairstyles, and the gifts they carry, which represent the resources of their homelands. For example, the Babylonians are shown bringing bowls and textiles. The Indians carry gold and exotic animals. The Egyptians present vases filled with perfume. The Greeks and Lydians bring finely crafted metal objects. These carvings provide direct evidence of the vastness of the Persian Empire and its policy of governing through diplomacy and cooperation rather than pure military force. Each group is depicted with respect and dignity, reflecting the Achaemenid tradition of allowing conquered peoples to maintain their cultural identities while serving the empire. Scenes of royal authority. Many reliefs in Persepolis depict the Persian kings in majestic poses, often seated on their thrones, receiving envoys, or being attended by nobles and soldiers. These images emphasize the divine right and absolute authority of the Persian monarchs. The kings are always portrayed as larger than other figures, symbolizing their supreme status. One of the most famous reliefs is found in the Takara, Palace of Darius, where King Darius I is depicted with a lotus flower in one hand and a scepter in the other, symbolizing peace and power. Behind him, his son Xerxes I stands, indicating the continuity of royal succession. Cuneiform inscriptions, the voice of the Achaemenid kings. In addition to carvings, Persepolis is home to several cuneiform inscriptions, written in Old Persian, Elamite, and Babylonian, the three official languages of the empire. These inscriptions, carved into stone tablets and palace walls, serve as declarations from the Persian kings, recording their achievements, laws, and religious beliefs. One of the most important inscriptions is known as the Persepolis Foundation inscription, in which Darius I proclaims, "I am Darius, the great king, king of kings, king of lands, son of Hystasps, an Achaemenid. By the will of Ahura Mazda, this palace was built." This inscription highlights several key aspects of Achaemenid rule. The Persian king was not just a ruler but a king of kings, overseeing a vast network of subject nations. Ahura Mazda, the chief deity of Zoroastrianism, was credited with granting the king his authority. Persepolis was not merely a palace, but a divinely sanctioned center of power. Other inscriptions found at Persepolis provide administrative details, such as records of workers' wages and food rations. These texts reveal that the Achaemenid rulers practiced a form of labor management that was more structured than simple slavery. Workers were paid in silver or given food supplies, a system that contrasts with the forced labor practices of many other ancient empires. The Gate of All Nations, a multicultural empire. One of the most symbolic structures of Persepolis is the Gate of All Nations, built by Xerxes I. This grand entrance was flanked by massive stone bowls with human heads, representing strength and divine protection. Above the entrance, an inscription in multiple languages declares, "I, Xerxes, the great king, built this gate for all nations of my empire." This inscription reinforces the idea that the Achaemenid Empire was built on inclusion and unity. Rather than forcing one culture upon its subjects, the Persians ruled with a policy of religious tolerance and cultural respect, a principle that allowed their empire to thrive for over 2 centuries. The Persepolis fortification tablets, daily life in the empire. A groundbreaking discovery at Persepolis was the Persepolis fortification tablets, a collection of over 30,000 clay tablets written in Elamite cuneiform. These documents, unearthed by archaeologists in the 20th century, provide rare insights into the economic and administrative workings of the empire. Unlike royal inscriptions, which glorify kings, these tablets record everyday transactions, including rations given to workers and artisans, the transport of goods across different regions, the management of royal food supplies. These records prove that the Achaemenid administration was highly organized, with detailed oversight of resources, labor, and trade. They also show that women in the empire, including Persian noblewomen, held influential roles in managing estates and receiving wages, an indication of gender roles in Persian society that was more progressive than many other ancient civilizations. A legacy carved in stone. Despite the destruction of Persepolis, its reliefs and inscriptions have survived for over 2 millennia, offering a unique first-hand account of life in the Achaemenid Empire. Through these detailed carvings and texts, modern historians have been able to reconstruct a picture of an empire that was not only militarily powerful but also culturally rich, administratively efficient, and deeply interconnected with the regions it ruled. Even though Persepolis was destroyed more than 2,300 years ago, its ruins continue to captivate historians, archaeologists, and visitors from all over the world. It stands as a testament to the grandeur of the Achaemenid Empire, offering a glimpse into the artistic, political, and cultural achievements of one of history's greatest civilizations. Today, Persepolis is not just an archaeological site. It is a symbol of Persian heritage and national pride, drawing thousands of people who come to admire its architectural brilliance and unravel its secrets. The rediscovery and early accounts of Persepolis. For centuries after its destruction, Persepolis was largely forgotten, buried under layers of sand and time. However, the ruins remained visible, and they continued to inspire awe among those who encountered them. In Persian tradition, the site was known as Takhti Jamshid, Throne of Jamshid, named after the mythical Persian king Jamshid, who is believed to have founded a golden city. The first Western accounts of Persepolis came from travelers and explorers who visited Persia during the 17th and 18th centuries. Among the earliest visitors was Pietro della Valle, an Italian traveler who wrote about the ruins in the early 1600s. Later, Cornelis de Bruyne, a Dutch artist, provided detailed sketches of Persepolis in 1704, offering the world a visual representation of the site's magnificent remains. By the 19th century, European scholars began taking a deeper interest in Persepolis. The British and French explorers carefully examined its cuneiform inscriptions, eventually leading to the decipherment of Old Persian script, a breakthrough that allowed historians to read Achaemenid records for the first time. Modern archaeological excavations. The most significant excavations at Persepolis took place in the 20th century, led by Ernst Herzfeld and Erich Schmidt, 2 German archaeologists working under the sponsorship of the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago. Their work, conducted between 1931 and 1939, uncovered many important structures and artifacts, including the Apadana Palace, with its towering columns and intricate reliefs depicting Persian kings and tribute bearers. The Takhara Palace of Darius, which contained well-preserved inscriptions and carvings. The Persepolis fortification tablets, a collection of over 30,000 clay tablets that provided insight into Achaemenid administration, trade, and daily life. These excavations confirmed that Persepolis was not just a palace, but also a ceremonial and administrative center, where Persian rulers governed one of the largest empires in history. The findings revolutionized our understanding of the Achaemenid world, shedding light on its economic system, cultural diversity, and religious practices. A UNESCO World Heritage Site and a center for tourism. Recognizing its historical and cultural significance, Persepolis was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. Today, it is one of Iran's most famous tourist destinations, drawing visitors from all over the world who come to witness its breathtaking ruins. Walking through Persepolis, visitors can still see the grand staircases leading up to the palaces, carved with detailed reliefs of Persian kings and subjects. The Gate of All Nations, a massive entrance flanked by colossal winged bulls, symbolizing the empire's strength. The Apadana's towering columns, some of which still stand after more than 2 millennia. The rock-cut tombs of Persian kings, located near Persepolis at Nakshi-Rostam, where rulers such as Darius I and Xerxes I were buried. Each year, thousands of visitors, scholars, and historians travel to Persepolis to study its ruins and admire the artistic and architectural genius of the Achaemenid Empire. The site serves as a bridge between the past and the present, allowing people to connect with a civilization that shaped the history of the ancient world. The enduring legacy of Persepolis. Even though it lies in ruins, Persepolis continues to inspire artists, writers, and historians, serving as a symbol of Persian cultural resilience. The site is often featured in books, documentaries, and films, highlighting its importance as one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. For Iranians, it remains a source of national pride, representing their deep historical roots and the achievements of their ancestors.